This competition so far, we have not seen, apart from 29 minutes of football, anything that looks like an England squad that should be winning this tournament.
I'm still tired of our kids catching hellfire. Hellfire from the police, hellfire from the schools. I'm tired of our parents going to hospital and being treated less than.
It's actually harder to not qualify to qualify. It's actually harder to not qualify.
That's the thing.
How much easier would them to make it for you? What's happening, guys? Welcome to this week's episode of Whisper It Loudly podcast. I am Jordan Jarrett Bryan. This is Troy Townsend. We have no Darren Lewis with us this week.
Can I just say how good it feels to be on the left-hand side?
Well,
I feel this position is really prominent and it gets the exposure. So
do you feel the power?
I feel
that's
like...
why I sit there. There's an emphasis, there's an importance.
I do like it. You're
welcome. Darren is not with us this week. He's away. Hugh is still working hard out in Germany for the Euros. I think he's back in a couple of weeks. So we will see Hugh in a couple of weeks. You might have seen him already on TalkSport working hard. Before we get into this week's episode, do not forget, please subscribe to the pod. We are growing week on week. Join in on the fun. See, audio listeners wouldn't have seen that, but Troy's touching the mic, mashing up the set. Just stop touching things, man.
I'm so sorry.
It's like Darren's here.
I'm so sorry.
Can I just finish my link to let the people know that subscribe, follow, we're on the socials, YouTube, all that stuff.
You do it so well.
All right, thank you. Well, I was trying before you mash up the set. We will later on in the pod be joined by a special guest. We are joined in a bit by Lord Simon Woolley, one of the co-founders of Operation Black Vote and professor at Cambridge University. We're going to speak about the general election and what he thinks is important in terms of Black Britons looking forward, not only voting, but what we should expect come the 5th of July, regardless of which government is in charge, although it's looking like it's going to be a Keir Starmer Labour government. So stay tuned for that later on in the pod. But first, let's talk football. That's what we do best.
Not necessarily. You shouldn't say that. That's what we do best.
Oh, I talk to myself. That's what I do best. I don't talk well on anything else. And even football, some people would say, you don't talk very well on that either, Jordan. You know what I mean? So I'll humble myself there. Can I just start off by saying, I don't want to be the miserable Jordan that I always am.
How can you not be?
The quality's poor, Troy.
Of what?
Every one of the quality of the tournament.
I think that's harsh.
Poor, Troy,
really?
Man. Come on. I'm looking at the bigger nations and even the smaller nations. Where's the quality? Let's go for the teams now, right? Because at the point of recording, we are midway through the third round of games, right? In the group stage. Let's go for the teams. Portugal, in spurts, okay. Holland, okay. France, who were my favourites before the tournament started, Germany, absolutely brilliant in the first game, but it was against Scotland. They're crap. So that's a bit of an equaliser there. Who else want to go through? Give me some teams.
Spain.
The only team, Troy, I think has shown consistent quality in this whole tournament is Spain. Croatia looked tired. Serbia, punching. The quality's so poor.
I'm enjoying their tournament. I am enjoying...
I enjoyed the first round of games.
I'm enjoying the tournament where, look, the Spanish have been the standout nation. There's no doubt about that. And the fact that they've, their last game, they've just changed 10 of their players. And people say, they've qualified. And me and you are going to get in discussion about whether England would have done that or not. But they are the consistent team. But there's also nations that will build up to the crescendo, and that obviously is the quarterfinals, the semi-finals, the finals. Do they need to show, and we had this argument about England and the quality of their football last week, do they need to show enough quality now, or is it going to be a consistent until they get to the end goal, which is winning? I am enjoying it. I've enjoyed the Albanians. I've enjoyed Turkey, although obviously Portugal absolutely battered them in the end. I've enjoyed teams that actually have gone, let's go and express ourselves rather than let's sit back, let's bring on the wealth and let's then go and counter-attack. So I'm feeling the competition. There's been some amazing goals scored.
There has been some good goals. I'll give you that. There have been some good goals scored.
And the atmosphere at nearly every game has been top draw. So I'm all right, because when it comes through my TV screen, I feel like I'm there. And I think that's what we have to, that's the judgment for me on whether...
I think that's fair, Troy. Yeah. I mean, I want to be clear that I'm distinguishing, you know, sexy, exciting football with just quality, right? I'm talking about quality. Quality of chances. Who are the attacking midfielders that are creating chances? I can pick up Musiala, the boy at Turkey, the young boy, I've forgotten his name, the two wingers at Spain, Williams and Yamaz? Lamine.
Yeah.
Yamal even. Thank you very much.
We're getting there.
We're getting there.
Yeah. It's my teeth, sorry.
But beyond that, I'm not seeing any chance.
Luka Modric, still at his age, is there, bopping it with the best.
Who else? Again, Portugal in spurts look okay.
But they battered Turkey. And ultimately, you've got to look at Portugal. When they needed to change things, when they were losing, they changed things and they won. Then they go and demoralise, batter Turkey. Mm-hmm. So actually, I'm looking at them in a consistency level and thinking that squad is doing exactly what it should be doing. It's turning the jaws of defeat into victory. Mm-hmm. It's then stepping up the next game and going and, 3 goals against Turkey is nothing to sniff at. And the quality of their forward-thinking players, for me, is the best in the competition.
The players they've got are quality, but what I'm seeing, I mean, England and Scotland...
They've got 5 goals already.
Well, hang on. England and Scotland, and rightfully so, are getting absolute pelters for stinking out Germany right about now. Let's have it right. They are stinking out. They've had some stinkers, right?
Scotland have stunk out because they've gone.
And good, and we'll get Scotland in a minute. I'm glad they've gone. Yeah. But to be fair, I think, and maybe it's because we're in Britain and we are listening to British broadcasters, and so the focus will be Scotland and England. I get it. I think that is distracting from the fact that some other nations are stinking out Germany as well. Italy, meh.
But did we expect anything from these Italians? I looked at the squad. People say they were lucky to win the Euros, but they won it, so there's no luck involved in that. But did we expect, having looked at this Italian squad, progress or digress since they won the Euros? Did we expect anything from
maybe
them?
Not.
I didn't.
But the point I'm making is that there's a lot of stinkers. There's a lot of stinkers out there. I'm watching a lot of games, and apart from a moment here, a moment there, I'm not seeing patterns of play from an offensive point of view. I'm just not seeing. I'm seeing some good goals. I have seen some good goals, but I'm looking at who the creative forces in these teams, and am I seeing good football, quality football? And I just think the answer is no.
All right, we'll agree to disagree. Is that okay? Rather than go tit for tat and then go boom.
But are you seeing good attacking football?
I'm seeing some good football. I'm seeing some football from nations where I didn't. I've already exposed them.
You mentioned
Portugal, Albania, Turkey. There's still been games when these sides, even Switzerland to start with, these sides have done well, and then the pressure of the tournament takes hold. So actually, if you don't win the first one, if you draw the first one, or whatever that may be, although they've got the caveat of, the third place teams, which I still think shouldn't happen in any tournament.
No, I agree with that.
But there's a nervousness that also comes into a bit of play. So the freedom that I felt a lot of teams had in the first game, and if they didn't get over the line, they then, we need to maybe be a little bit more cautious, because the aim is to get out. The aim for everybody is to get out of the group stage. Yeah. Some have done it well. Some have crept by. We've criticised England. They're out of the group stage. And with 1 game to go, surely that is the expectation. But we'll pick up on that. And then there's those like Scotland who got absolutely battered, but gave themselves hope in a draw against Switzerland, and then obviously fouled miserably against the Hungarians.
Well, you mentioned England. Let's start with England then. Again, at the point of recording, we've kind of lucked out 2 weeks in a row now, because England play tonight.
Yeah.
They take on Slovenia. As you mentioned, England have qualified. Worst case, they'll qualify as a best third place side. I think they'll get the win they need today to kind of qualify, but there's been heavy leaks and rumours that Gareth Southgate will only make 1 change this evening to his starting 11. Conor Gallagher of Chelsea will be coming in for Trent Alexander-Arnold, and Darren, his backside is lucky they're not here. He's not here this week because I want my dinner. I want my dinner. Yeah, I'm going somewhere nice and expensive, but we'll pick up Darren on that next week. But so Trent Alexander-Arnold is out of the team. Do you think that is a significant move that will have a positive impact? And what other changes would you make if you were in charge tonight?
Not sure about positive impact. Listen, they gambled on Trent. So to put that gamble aside now, I feel for Trent. I do. I'm not saying he's had the best tournament, but there's been a few that haven't had the best tournament. But I think I said... No, I didn't say on this pod. I'm really, really sorry about that. I won't mention another pod.
How many pods? Whoa. I thought we were getting the goods. I thought we were getting the Troy exclusives. What other pods?
This was after the game. This was after the England game. So we recorded before. Okay. I actually thought he was just coming into his own. And there was a couple of passes that he sprayed. And I felt to myself, that's better. Yeah, it was going beyond the back line. When Ollie Watkins came on in the last game, we looked better. And that's not being disrespectful to the nation's top goal scorer, but Ollie Watkins was doing things that Harry Kane can't do anymore, which is play beyond the defence. So the defence wants to see you. The Danish defence wanted to see Harry Kane in their eye line, and they got Harry Kane in their eye line. And what they said to themselves, we can deal with that. When Ollie Watkins came on, it was like, oh no, we didn't plan for this, and they were getting stretched. Trent came off, and then we stopped playing purposeful balls to an Ollie Watkins as such, you know. I'm just trying to think if Trent came off at the same time, to be fair, so someone was doing it. But our midfield, Jordan, I have to back you with what you said, and it loathes me to do it, but you said the essential part when people were saying about the defence. Yeah. You were the first one that actually said, I'm worried about our midfield. And I think you've shone a light on an area where we actually thought we were strong enough. Rice, Bellingham, Gallagher, Trent, Mainu, whatever one you want. We felt we were strong enough, but it proved again that we have no clue how to retain the ball. And I thought Declan Rice had his worst game that I'd seen for a very long time. Jude Bellingham, again, I said it, tired. How he didn't come off in the last game, I'll never know. Particularly with the state of the pitch. Remember the pitch?
It was awful.
It was awful, tired. Freshen it up, be able to, again, I talk about trusting the rest of your squad, and I don't think Gareth has done that. I'd start with Anthony Gordon tonight. He was in the squad when we picked it a few weeks ago, when Carl was here. Why? Because he does what I've just spoken about. He plays beyond. He drives people into spaces that they don't want to be. He makes fullbacks think about what way is he going to go. Phil Foden doesn't do that, and I don't want to be critical of Phil. I'd actually give Jude a rest tonight. I would rest him. I would play Phil Foden in there, so let him play naturally. I'll have Anthony Gordon. I'd still have Saka. And I'd start with Kane. But if Kane doesn't pull up trees, we now know that Ollie Watkins is right and ready. He should have known, but he's right and ready to play in the competition. I'd have Mainu instead of Gallagher. And I'm still querying about the left-back situation scenario. Whilst, remember, Trippier came off injured in the last game. So is he fit? He's already dismissed Luke Shaw, which means that he's wasted a left-back spot there, and we've spoken about who we think could have been in there. I think the defence has actually not been too bad. No. I think they've been critical of each other, but Kyle Walker was our most progressive player in the last game and created the goal. So my question is, do we just keep Kieran Trippier there for the sake of it? Or do we look at doing something slightly different? And I've heard the Saka's at left back and all that kind of stuff. And then you take away our most creative player from a position, I think so, just because we could play someone in there like a Cole Palmer maybe. But are we reducing Saka's influence on the team?
So I think it's a bit. You've made a big shout there that you would drop Bellingham for this game.
I'd rest Bellingham. There's a difference.
Okay, well,
there's a difference.
Semantics. All right, we'll call it what you want. He ain't playing. We'll call it to you, all right? My big shout would be, I get the logic, what you're saying behind resting Bellingham. I would rest Kane. I wouldn't start Kane tonight. It's a good shout. I would start Watkins, and people remember.
I wouldn't argue with you on that.
Yeah, and Watkins is someone that I've said I wouldn't even take him to the Euros, but we're beyond that now. He's there. I would start Watkins tonight. I would give Slovenia a different problem to think about. I don't think Kane, you talk about Bellingham being knackered. I think Kane's injured. I think that injury, that back injury from back in the season of Bayern, he ain't right. And I would.
Seems like we've been there before though with Kane.
Well, we might have been there a few times before. I just feel like England should have enough to get the points, if not 3.
That's what I
without Harry Kane tonight. Yeah. Give him a couple of days off. Let him try and get that back rested for what you hope will be the group stage. I guess the problem then is if England go through second, I think they play Germany.
But is there a fear about
Germany.
playing Germany? I actually think this England squad is set up to play better against those nations, the Germans, the Spanish, the French, than what they are against the Serbians, who tactically are saying, well, we're going to go and batter England because we want to reduce their effectiveness in games. Or, the Slovenians, who tonight might go for it. I'm trying to think. They've got 2 points. I think they've got 2 points, and they're going for a place for one of the best third place.
Yeah.
Who knows what their tactical kind of nous may be tonight. I think their biggest thing was how do they play the game tonight, and they'll be looking at the English team and saying, well, actually, we've seen this, we've seen that. They look a little bit tired. They're not progressive in their build-up play. They're not bombing down wings apart from one flank, which if we can shut off that one flank, and that's why I think Anthony Gordon could be important. And I think for England to do, listen, that's a great shout about Ollie Watkins, and for us to do something slightly different may upset their tactical, tactics.
And I think that whenever we listen to the radio stations, we hear fan channels and we hear podcasts, people talk about their 11s, we forget the 11 that you pick, you can change it. We have things called substitutions.
Well, remember,
I've
spoken about that quite a bit, and I've spoken about the fact that
Harry Kane can come on if we need him.
No squad will start the competition with the 11 that they end with.
I'd argue, sorry to cut you, I'd argue the team that finishes the game is probably more important than the team that starts the game. This idea that if you drop your favourite player or brilliant player, it's in the... No, it's not at all. Just on Conor Gallagher, going back to him, I understand what I think is the logic behind starting him. I don't think anybody's trying to make out like Conor Gallagher is Andrea Pirlo, right? And he's a world beater, because he's just not that guy. But I think the logic is, one, what has been the main criticism from England's 2 performances so far?
Energy.
Slow.
Yeah.
Yeah. And Conor Gallagher, and I know a lot of people will say, you should be playing for England if you can run around a lot. Well, the sad truth is that England needs someone that can run around a lot. Do you know what I mean? So I think he'll bring legs into the team. I think his short-range passing is good. It's not amazing, but it's good. And I think what he will do is, I think he'll dovetail with Declan Rice to allow him to get forward a bit more as well. And they will, when Rice goes, Conor Gallagher has discipline to sit and occupy that space. So I think it's not about Conor Gallagher changing the team. I think it's about what Conor Gallagher being in the team does for everybody else.
But you know what I want to see tonight? And I know, again, we've spoken about, I want to see a performance. Darren was very critical about we don't need to see performances. You have to give people hope. And you have to give people hope that by the time we get to the knockouts, we can win a tight game, we can win a open game, we can tactically outdo the opposition. And 3 games in, we need to see a performance from this England squad. We need to see something that marks them as one of the favourites to win it, not just by name, but by the quality of what they play. And I think this is a really important game tonight, whether it's 1-0, 2-0, 1-1, 3-0, whatever it may be. I need to see an England performance that gives us hope that we can go on through the knockout stages and eventually get to a final.
Should we talk about the beef between Kane and Lineker?
Yeah. We can contribute to the beef between Kane and Lineker.
Let's contribute, because it's a fake beef, really. I mean, for those who don't know, post England's draw with Denmark, which really was bad, in the analysis on the BBC coverage, and then Alan Shearer and Gary Lineker were very critical of the performance, and as 2 former England striking captains, they spoke about Harry Kane, and him being subbed is a big deal. He never gets subbed in big games, so it was a big deal, and they kind of focused on him. I think it was on the after hours kind of coverage they do.
Yeah,
the extra kind of coverage when they come off TV.
But then also Lineker's pod, wasn't it, as well?
Well, he referred to Kane's performance as a shit, right? And I'm assuming you can't do that on the BBC, right? So it must have been on either BBC After Hours episode or on his podcast. Either way, that was his reference point for the performance of Harry Kane. A journalist in the press conference that Harry Kane did on Sunday put that to him. And, you know, we in our WhatsApp group were talking about the fact that we thought it was really poorly. That Darren, to be fair,
it was set up
really badly.
Yeah.
At the end of the question where he put that to Harry Kane, he said, he ended it with, or should he stick to flogging crisps?
Yeah,
which was a really cheap shot.
Yeah,
it was really. I don't know who the journalist was, but it was really poor. I personally am not a massive fan of doing the he said, she said thing in press conferences. I think there are some instances where it's valid, but this felt to me like, and I think Lineker said this, a journalist was too scared to really put his own opinion in his question and say, Kane, you were not very good last week. What you can do better? So he's used Gary Lineker's quotes.
The way I saw it was there was a narrative that they wanted. They wanted this kind of Kane, Shearer, Lineker kind of narrative to push forward.
Who'd win that fight, just out of interest? If they were to have like a scrap, because Kane's obviously younger, but I got a feeling that Lineker still kind of keeps himself in good shape. And
listen, the way that Lineker's brother got. Anyway, let's not go down that route. Let's not go down that route. I don't care. Listen, I think
I kind of do.
Listen, it's valid. You can't have people not having an opinion on an England performance. The England captain, you know, they laud it when they get pats on the back. They laud it when they're told how they're world class. They laud it when they beat nations that they should beat, but they're getting 3 and 4 goals. You can't have it your own way all the time. If you, and I'm going to use your analogy here, if you stink out the place, you deserve to get told that you stink out the place because they're analysing the game. Now, to what level that goes to, I'm not Lineker, I'm not Shearer. I wouldn't have used the term shit. I think we're more professional than that. And I think actually it does show a lack of professionalism towards a fellow England captain as such. But he deserves, and they deserve, to be criticised. We did on here. We spoke quite a lot about, listen, you and Darren were fisticuffs last week about England performance. So they have to expect, remember, sorry, I'm bouncing along as I remember things because of my age. The media did very well on the Charm Initiative. Was it before the Russian World Cup? When England set up the fact that the media could come in, ask them very different questions, get involved with you know, the darts and all of that. And actually it was a charm offensive that led to England going quite a long way. And it was used as a point of, this is how it should always be. Yeah. Everyone was on the back of that. Everyone was on the back of the Euros, despite some not so great early performances, but we got through and we got to the final. Everyone was backing it. This competition so far, we have not seen, apart from 29 minutes of football, anything that looks like an England squad that should be winning this tournament. And we're still one of the favourites. So then to critique the performances and to be able to criticise whoever it is that deserves the criticism is part and parcel of playing this game. And those England players actually who said that they were not going to look on their socials, they were just going to be clear-minded and focused on the Euros, have actually shown that they are concerned about what people are talking about because it's affecting them. And not just Kane, Declan Rice came out, didn't he? And defended Trent and defended the squad. And so actually they've gone against the principles that they've told us by actually, whether it was on social media or whoever was watching, that you're being criticised out there, lads. And Gareth put his back up and just said, look, well, we're not listening to all the external fire. But you must be. That's what the press conferences are all about. So, look, for me, they have to take it on the chin. That's why I say the performance tonight is massively important. And whatever beef it is, I'm sure if they put in a great performance tonight, I don't know who's got the game, but Lineker and Shearer will be providing praise.
I think there's two things for me on this as well. I think the first thing I'd say is I think a big part of why England did so well in Russia 2018 and at the Euros 2021 was because I think for the first time the nation, and definitely the football supporting nation, they weren't arrogant. They kind of humbled themselves. And there was an element of, we ain't won anything for a long time. We've got a good team. Let's just see what we can do. And we've got this young manager, the young team. Let's just get behind them, right? There wasn't this kind of, we should get to the final minimum. And there was that. But there was a humility about those two tournaments that I think enabled them to kind of just do their thing.
Yeah, but then becomes an expectation.
True, which I think is where we are right now. I think now we're creeping back into the, Why aren't we winning 5-0 every game? We've got the best players in the world. Why aren't we smashing everybody? And I think that I wouldn't call it arrogance, but I will call it this kind of a creeping back into this, we should be doing X. And I'm like, you ain't won nothing since 66. What should you be doing? Do you know what I mean? And this idea that we've got these world-class players.
In the fan parks that you're visiting.
Well, we'll talk about that maybe later on. But I'm getting a sense of we should be doing all this thing. And it's like this great England, we should be conquering. I'm like, hang on a minute. You've got some good players, but let's not forget, and this argument, I'm jumping around all over the place now as well. This argument that because these players England have got do so well with their club teams, they should translate that to the England team, for me is weird, because Phil Foden plays with Bernardo Silva, Kevin De Bruyne, Edison and Haaland. Declan Rice plays with Jorginho, Jesus, Saliba, etc. They play with foreigners. They play with players who are better than them. In the England team, they don't have Jorginho. They don't have De Bruyne. They don't have these players. So that translation for me is weird. But I think we're creeping back into this expectation mode where I'm like, no. It ain't great. Admittedly, the football is not good. But let's just kind of stick with the nation, stick with the team. And then as Kane said in his press conference, we can critique as we go along, but judge us afterwards. If we bomb in the last 16, but they'll take it.
You can't judge afterwards. You judge as it's happening. We're in a world now. Yes. We're in a world now where we don't have to wait for the newspapers in the morning,
we can have
to see what everybody is saying. We're in a world now where actually, in the 25th minute, if you've done something wrong, in the 26th minute, it'll be trending on Twitter. So I get it, and I get what Kane's saying, and I get what you're saying as well. But I think if that bit gets cut up, you're going to be on flames again tonight with the fans. That's all I'm going to say.
I don't care about the fans. Listen, they can. I don't care about that. Well, no, I don't care about that. I just feel there's this slight, I wouldn't call it arrogance, but this slight expectation that's creeping back in, and I'm not sure what that's based off of. Okay. The performances are not good, and I agree with you. I think England do need a good performance to just get the nation back on side.
Yeah.
I think what's more important than that is my second thing is, I don't think we necessarily need to see England winning 5-0 and playing great. I just think whatever the tactic's going to be, just do it with a bit of conviction.
More composed, more channeled, more dictation, more just be a bit more players understanding their roles and responsibilities.
We're watching England playing, we're all saying to ourselves, we're not quite sure what you're trying to do. Are you countering? Are you a possession team? Are you going direct? Are you a tiki-taka team?
I think
no one knows what we're trying. Just show us what the plan is. I think one of the
biggest things that people would want to see, that if England go 1-0 up again tonight, that they don't retreat.
But they will.
They don't. Well, this is something that people.
And this goes back to my overall point. They won't be successful.
Retreat because
it's cultural.
I think they were forced back a little bit by the Danish, who I thought were tremendous. But remember, they're playing with a Højbjerg and a Christian Eriksen, who exposed England's frailties in that area. Which is funny
because, me and my leg and you in your old age, we're quicker than Eriksen and Højbjerg as well. So anyway.
I get you, but two very, very good professionals who knew what roles they had to play to counteract whatever England were going to do in that area. So, like I said, for me, people need to see more positivity in the performance, and a more progressive England side.
Let's see how they get on. Let's just finish up with Scotland, right? Because
this is going to be fun.
We got to talk. We got to talk about. We'll get to them bombing out of the tournament and how awful they've been at this tournament in a second. But let's just first of all start on these, in my opinion, underreported quotes post-match from the manager Steve Clarke. He was obviously very vexed. They felt they should have had a penalty. I think we're in agreement that it is a penalty. I didn't at the time. It took me a couple of replays in the post-match analysis to kind of realise and see the fact that is it Armstrong? Not Armstrong.
I thought it was a pen.
His knee was taken out.
It was Armstrong, wasn't it?
I think it was Armstrong.
I thought it was a pen.
I think it was a pen. Steve Clarke was...
Straight away, by the way, sorry.
No. It took me a few times to see it. So I thought at first it's not a pen. But anyway, Steve Clarke in the post-match interview was obviously very vexed, and I've got the quotes here where he's been asked about the penalty, and he said here he's referring to the official's nationality, who was from Argentina. He was asked, has he been spoken about the penalty. He's from Argentina. Why would I ask him? He probably doesn't speak the language. Why is he even here? Why is he not working in South America? And that for me is really, really disappointing. And I think it's xenophobic. I'm going to just say it's xenophobic for me, because what does the fact that he's Argentina have to do with the decision that he made? Now, he would say, I'm referring to the fact that in the Euros, you're not supposed to have referees and officials that are not European,
which is rubbish, as we know. That.
Right. So when you checked this before we came on air, and there has been a deal. Talk me through
since 2019 that there's been this crossover of South American officials and European officials. So Tello is able to listen. I actually thought, why is there an Argentinian official at the Euros? You do a bit of homework, you do a bit of due diligence, and then you see that actually there's been an agreement since 2019, I believe, that actually there's been this crossover of South American officials and European officials. If Steve Clarke or someone in his background group had done their own homework, that would have answered that question for him. But at what point did his nationality have to come into play here? And at what point, as one of those journalists, going to challenge Steve Clarke about the language that he used, about the reference that he made? I don't get why this is not a bigger story than what it is.
So let's kind of separate the two things. I think the first thing is, why is he bringing up his nationality? I'm sure he would say,
disrespectful.
Hang on. I think he would say, I brought up his Argentinian nationality, his heritage, because, as he would have understood it, the rule states he shouldn't be refereeing in this competition.
No, the rules
that
don't.
is separate.
Right.
But no, he doesn't know that. I'm saying,
right. He should know that.
But he should. But that is separate to the next part of the quote, which is he probably doesn't speak the language. That for me is where I have a problem, because, with all due respect, I don't understand what you're saying half the time, Mr. Steve Clarke, because of your strong Scottish accent. Should that preclude you from being involved in Euros?
But also,
what are we doing here?
But also, that decision, I think, I'm not 100% sure, would have gone up to VAR. The VAR official is Spanish.
All European.
We don't know if he speaks English.
Yeah.
But they have a communication between them that allows them to understand that I don't think that's a pen. I'm not going to send you over to the TV monitor. I don't know why he has. I'm going to be honest. I don't know why he hasn't. But I haven't then been xenophobic and shouted all this different. It's got to be because he's Argentinian and it's the Latin. Remember when Graham Souness, Tottenham versus Manchester United, when Tottenham went to Old Trafford and battered them 6-1. Sorry, I thought it was going to be a comment there.
No, I'll give you that one.
And he spoke about the Latin nature of Eric Lamela.
I remember.
He got pulled under the rugs for that. Didn't really impact on him because he goes and commentates. But, we were involved in we kick it out, the organisation that I'm leaving very, very soon. That he has to do better. Has to do better. Ozzy Ardiles wrote how disappointed he was as well, that it was allowed to go unchallenged. So I don't understand how Clarke's comments, I don't care whether he's angry or not, and he definitely was angry, that's where you need to be more mindful and choose your words wisely, how they've not been challenged more. Because I tell you now, if that was Gareth Southgate, which it would never have would been,
front page
news. Yeah, front page story.
It was massively underreported.
And UEFA need to do better for allowing that for allowing those comments to go unpunished. Whether they are, whether they're not, I don't know. But they're taking a long time in investigating some other things, so I don't even think Steve Clarke's going to be on their radar. I would, if I was the referee and those comments are being presented to me, then ask UEFA to challenge it, to protect me as an official and as a human being.
And even just British media as well. A lot of the British media like Steve Clarke. I don't know if it's because people didn't understand why.
I'm not so sure.
I don't know, but I find it surprising how underreported those comments were. And maybe it was because people had sympathy with the point he was trying to make, which was he felt an injustice was carried, which I think we agree with as well.
Yeah.
But I don't think that gives you a pass to still
absolutely
to talk about the fact that he probably doesn't speak the language as well. That's not cool. Right, so let's chat about Scotland's performance at the Euros, because, listen, we have a lovely dog in the studio here, right? And if the dog, what's the dog's name? Sorry, remind me of the dog's name, Amy. What's the dog? Milu. If Milu was to take
By the way,
number two.
By the way, when you were talking, Milu was snoring.
Was she snoring?
Like hard as well. So it just means that she's not really au fait with what
It's half the listeners on the podcast as well can relate, so join the club. If Milu was to take a number two in the corner, right, I'm telling you, it wouldn't smell as bad as Scotland's performances out in Germany this last 3 games. Because whilst I think that Scotland have a couple of okay players and they're in a tough group, similar with England, I'm not expecting expansive, great football, but I'm expecting a plan. I'm expecting, and if they didn't get in the first game, a bit of fight and a bit of energy and a bit of oomph. Listen, the Scottish fans have done themselves proud.
But Jordan,
Go on.
the minute we start thinking that the expectation is because you've got a great set of fans,
No, I'm being semi-patronising here.
I liken them to the Welsh fans, who are amazing.
Best fans in the world.
Yeah, all that kind of chat. But I guarantee that when they look at their teams and squads and nations on the field of play, they're going, but boy, we're not going far in this competition.
Which is okay,
but look, you say Scotland showed no fight. Kieran Tierney, after I don't know how many minutes in the first game, was punching because he, what a great stop that was. Second half, I think he was hiding. It was 5-1 and they were almost embarrassed. Put that game aside. I actually thought they did well against Switzerland.
They did all right.
No, they did well against Switzerland team that we were lauding.
Did they do well, or was it just the bar was so low against Germany? I couldn't get any worse.
All right, I hear you. I thought they did well, and yes, it was an OG, their goal. It was a shot on target. They didn't defend the second phase very well in the scoring of the goal that they conceded. In fact, they gave it away. But I thought they did well. I thought that was a well-earned point. What I saw for the Hungary game would massively disappoint me, as I actually wanted Scotland to get through the group stage.
Yeah, so did I.
But
so did I.
I don't remember. Hanley had a chance. Is it a chance? It's a shot at goal.
By being kind.
It's a shot at goal, which actually I think there was a foul in the build-up, which no one's mentioned it because they actually want a shot on goal target to counter it. They had no forward play at all. I'm looking at them, I'm thinking, surely they've got an opportunity to reach the knockout stages. Is there no oomph in this team? Is there not someone putting a rocket up them? And admittedly, I don't think Scotland have the aggressive players that they've had of the past. I don't think they've got the quality up front.
But I was just going to say, I was going to ask you, are we being a little bit harsh maybe in that the reason why they perform so poorly is because they don't have good players?
Well, they don't have the quality. I mean, we have to, if you're going to pull all the bones out and make it bare, they don't have the quality. So the achievement of reaching the Euros is massive. They beat Spain on the way.
Yeah.
Now you look at those two nations, and they're chalk and cheese, by the way. I think if Spain were to play them now...
Problem.
Oh.
Yeah, big problem.
But they've digressed from where they were at the stage when they were winning games in their own, in their group, to the point where they now turn up. And remember, the fans, any fan is going to go with optimism.
Yeah, of course, as they should.
But I agree with you, it's...
Yeah, it wasn't
great.
It wasn't
great. And they'll be reflected. If they do the reflection piece, which I'm sure they would, I think Steve Clarke may be struggling to keep his job afterwards.
What I think was interesting as well is that these Euros are set up. It's actually harder to not qualify to qualify. It's actually harder to not qualify.
That's the thing.
How much easier would them to make it for you to?
What's Sky going on here? I didn't work this out to start with. So when you look at the tables on score, when you look at the table, Sky actually have best third place. Yes. So they've got a table by itself. Scotland never entered that table.
Listen, let's just move on. 'Cause I'm sure our Scottish listeners and viewers are probably not appreciating the bar. I just thought
there has
bar
to be
was
honesty,
low, and for you to not have met the third. Come on, it was poor. Anyway, okay, enough football chat now. Let's now get on to. We're going to speak in a minute. Politics. We are joined shortly by Lord Simon Woolley. Let's now talk about things that are more important than football. Let's talk about politics and culture. And we've got, Troy, a really, really stellar. I mean, we've had some good guests on before, but we've got a stellar A-list, top class, top corner world-class guest with us on the pod this week.
He's got a lot to live up to. Then,
He does.
That,
Have I gassed him too much?
That billing is unbelievable.
I've gassed him high.
Okay.
We're joined by Lord Simon Woolley, the co-founder and director of Operation Black Vote. Good morning, Simon. How are we doing today?
I'm very good. I have to put you straight that I'm no longer the director of Operation Black Vote. For my sins now, I had Homerton College here at Cambridge University, but I'm still political. You can't take that away from me.
All right.
Amazing.
Okay. Good.
Amazing.
Let's get into it then, because I'm really keen to hear your views on the current election that's ongoing, with obviously the prism of Black Britons. And I'm trying to not use the phrase Black Britons so much anymore, because I think it homogenizes all of us, and as Black Britons, we are very, very different. We vote differently, we think differently, we're raised differently. So, but for the purposes of this, I want to start off with Diane Abbott. Let's start with Diane Abbott, because that was a really important moment, I think, in how the Labour Party treated and viewed her, and someone of huge standing, has done so much for this country and for her constituency where we are right now in Hackney. And I'm just wondering how much you think the treatment of Diane Abbott dented, many Black people's support of the Labour Party, and if you think it will be reflected in this general election.
I mean, if I'm honest with you, I look at it through a different lens. I'm always a glass half full kind of person. And what I see with the episode with Diane Abbott, it was the Black community, and I'm happy to use the catch-all Black, and also the working class community that said, don't touch Diane Abbott. She's fought for us for over 4 decades. And we demand that she stand. We demand that she be heard. So I see it really as an affirmation that Diane Abbott is in many ways Black royalty, but she transcends race. She's also royalty to working class. And I think it reminded the Labour Party that, look, you may think you're in a strong position, and according to the polls, which are pretty clear, politically they are, but they're not unassailable. And they were reminded the Black vote counts, Diane Abbott counts, and we won't stand for any shenanigans. Doesn't matter who you are, we will stand up and defend.
And how do you think Black Britons who are on the left, do you think that I'll put myself in that group, really understand and appreciate how much power, how much influence we have in shaping, who forms the next government, but also holding the next government, whoever it may be, it's looking like it will be Labour, accountable?
I spent 30 plus years trying to get the Black and brown communities, and particularly the Black community. In this particular instance, I'm talking about of African descent. I switch sometimes because political Black is non-white, but another Black is from African descent, and in many ways, for too long, the African descent vote has been a sleeping political giant. We think that things are done to us rather than we can influence institutions and policy. And yet we are so strategically well placed in what is in effect 100 or so marginal seats, that if we realize just how powerful we are, we'd get greater change in education, change in health, change in the policing. Those 3 areas alone, we saw how the structural inequalities for Black people were laid bare during the COVID crisis. We died the most. We were infected the most by COVID. We were affected in the education space. not least because of our poverty. So when you saw COVID, if you followed COVID, you would see the structural inequalities that we need changing. And you can't change it by crossing your fingers. You can't change it by lamenting in the barbershop. You can only change it by political action. And we don't do enough of it.
Lord Woolley, my late father used to always say to me, I always used to talk about doing the lottery, and I never did it. And he said, obviously, you've got to be in it to win it. You know, you can't just think that you're going to be a millionaire. You've got to be in it to win it. I'm probably one of those people who have not exercised my right to vote for a number of reasons that may be too long for now. But in what way would you convince me? And I know that you've said some really important messages just now. In what way would you convince me that now is the right time to get on board and to make sure that the important one vote that I have is going to be a vote that can influence?
Well, think of it like this: your non-vote can be, in many areas, a double vote for people who don't like me and you. You double their vote. You double their hatred. You double their power for them to do bad things to us. Like Windrush, like the Rwanda bill, like Stop and Search. You've just given them power to beat us with. And all you've had to do is register to vote and tell politicians, I'm voting, and I'm voting for a political party that addresses systemic racism in education, in health, in housing, in the police. If you don't address those issues, you don't get my vote. And there'll be one party, and I'm not being party political, in which you will see will give you more than the other parties. And then you vote for them. And then you demand that they deliver. If you don't, we can expect more hellfire from people who just don't like brown-skinned people. And our kids, I mean, I'm 60 plus now. I'm still tired of our kids catching hellfire. Hellfire from the police, hellfire from the schools. I'm tired of our parents going to hospital and being treated less than. I'm tired of our families going to the local authorities and not being given decent accommodation. And you tell me how I should convince you to vote. Come on, guys.
Don't worry. I'm running down straight away. I'm feeling you so much. Here's the thing about it. Answer me one question. How much does it cost financially for you to exercise your franchise? How much? Zilch. Nothing. Not a red cent. But Lord Woolley, aren't they all much of a muchness? Aren't they all trying to gain our vote and then maybe not, exercising what we are voting for?
Imagine this for a second. Imagine if Martin Luther King said, aren't they much of a muchness? Imagine that for a second. Imagine if John Lewis, imagine if the Freedom Riders said, aren't they much of a muchness? Which of course they can be, unless we seek to change them. What are we going to do? Cross our fingers. Let's hope they be nice to us. Let's hope they afford us decency, dignity. Is that what we're going to hope for? Because trust me, we will be sorely disappointed.
Lord Woolley, Troy shamed me here because I've been way too familiar in calling you Simon, so I'm gonna do what's right here and refer to you as Lord Woolley. On the back of what you've just said, then, if we look forward to this election and then it's looking like it's going to be a Keir Starmer government for the next 5 years, what for you and the black people that you serve, you work with, that you are around, would you consider a win? What are the things that the next government, let's assume it's going to be Labour for a second, do you need to see to make you believe that change for you, your family, your peers, your friends, and black people that share your politics is going to be lead to a better Britain?
You know, a win for me is to see black people voting. A win for me is to see queues of black people going to the polling booths and showing the world we're standing up. We're standing up to be counted. We're standing up with a set of demands. And saying to Keir Starmer, when you take the keys to 10 Downing Street, that's a privilege. And that privilege needs to translate for you as our Prime Minister to serve, to tackle injustice, to tackle inequity, to give people a pathway that they can go from A to B to success. They can go from A to B to Homerton College at Cambridge University and be the best there. And what we should be saying, Troy, is that we're tired of asking, much less begging. We're demanding. We're demanding that you change. That's what would make me happy. I'm not gonna think that Keir Starmer walking through the door and other Labour people are gonna say, okay, I get race equality. I'm gonna act. I'm not crossing my fingers. I'm gonna be lobbying now, tomorrow, and the next day and the next day, because that's what our parents taught us. The struggle continues.
What do you make of the current calibre, Lord Woolley, of politicians, and how much faith in them do you have that they will have to listen to black voters' demands post 4th of July?
Look, the calibre of candidates and the way that they respond depends upon us. You know, we keep thinking, just leave it to them. Just leave it to them. The middle class don't leave it to them. The pensioners don't leave it to them. The farmers don't leave it to them. They march outside Downing Street. They send letters. They make demands. We get the politicians that we deserve. And if we engage, if we make the demands, I promise you, things will happen. So, I mean, there are certain things that we need from our political class. There are some things we can do ourselves. For example, the Saturday school clubs. That we could say, you could do a call out on the podcast and say, we want to do a Saturday school in Hackney for all kids, including the bright kids. And so I want to give a shout out to those that can teach Spanish, those can teach maths. It's voluntary. You come in every Saturday, you'll give you time. Our kids will go from here to Cambridge University. So I guess the point I'm making, whether it's voting about the societal change, we've got to flip the switch and not wait for them, but to empower ourselves. And in empower ourselves, we force them to make a difference and simultaneously make a change in our own community.
Just last one from me, Lord Woolley. The students that you work with and teach, are you seeing amongst the young people a level of political engagement that makes you happy, or is there a level of disengagement? And how important is the youth vote, in particular amongst black boys and girls?
Let me tell you, I reminded the people here when they hired me, I said, you've hired a political activist. So after my students see me and hear me, and they say, I asked them to call me Simon. I don't stand on ceremony. And they said to me, we'd like to start a political society. Is that okay? I said, you don't need permission from me to do it. what you do get from me is my blessing. And I said, knock yourself out. Mm-hmm. So they organized and I said, ask whoever you want and just put my name and say, Simon Says. The first person they invited was Reverend Al Sharpton.
Wow. Wow. Straight to the top. They weren't playing
if you're
no
going to go big, you've got to go big, yeah?
Look, that's black kids, white kids. I say to them here, look, we want no more Bullington boys, entitled individuals who think that the world owes them a living. I want people that are going to change the world. And I'll be your biggest fan. I say, you come here, you get a world-class education. It's not enough for me. For me, it's about what Martin Luther King said in regards to education. Great education plus character will change the world. I can't teach Shakespeare. I can't teach quantum physics. I can teach leadership. I can teach about the values of a character that thinks more about society than necessarily themselves. I can do that. And I'm thinking, if I'm in one of these global elite institutions, education institutions, then I want people that come from this college to have a sense of purpose about what they can do when they leave.
Lord Willie, I know you have to go. I've just got one more quick question. We discussed on the podcast last week the fact that Kylian Mbappe, the French football striker, has been very vocal alongside Marcus Thuram and other French players about the need for, in particular, the French youth to get out and vote because they have their own threat from the right coming over there in France. Just what's your view on, sports stars and just anyone of profile getting involved in politics and as far as speaking out? Do you think there should be a responsibility on those with a big platform and big following? Or actually, do you think that they can sometimes do more harm than good?
Well, I recall listening to who's the Madrid player? Vinicius
Junior, yeah.
Vinicius Juniors. And he had a press conference and got so emotionally wept.
Yeah.
One of the most gifted players on the planet.
Absolutely.
One of the most wealthiest broke down and cried because of the racism he has to face on the terraces. Now, if you can't speak out against bigotry, if you can't speak out against racism with all your wealth, with all your luxury, to me, you don't count. You're a great footballer, but you don't count as a great character. I love watching the beautiful game, and you may recall watching Holland. I think it was Holland and France earlier this week or last week.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
80% of the players in two European countries were of African descent.
Mm-hmm.
Think about it for a second. When my friend Jesse Jackson said to me, when the playing field is level, when the opportunities arise, we succeed. And how? The challenge for us is to ensure that the playing field is level in politics, in health, in education. Because the thing about it is, it's not we win, they lose. When football fans watch Madrid, when football fans watch the French team, everybody wins because they see magic. And it's seen as French magic.
Lord Woolley, all I would say about that...
Demand, because when we demand, great things happen for the whole of society. And guys, I love your platform. I'll come back again. I'm sorry I got heated up because it means a lot. This is not,
of course.
This is just about. It's not just about.
We appreciate that as well.
Thank you
very much. So, I won't ask that last question because I think we've run out of time.
Well, I just wanted to know what important. It's just a frivolous one. Less important for our listeners, but important for me. What's the skincare routine, Lord Willie? You're looking sharp. You swim.
I swim.
I can't swim. That's what it is.
3-4 times a week because
3-4 times a week.
Age is a number. Age is a number.
Yes.
By the way, and if your fitness in body and fitness in mind, we can do great things. Thank you, guys, and I'm happy to come back again.
No, listen,
we'd love to have you back.
Post the 5th of July, we'd love to get you back on, and once we know who the government is and the shake-up, then listen, I know you're a busy man, so thank you so much.
Maybe we'll do this program. Maybe we'll do this program here at Cambridge University.
There you go.
You hear that, production team? If we can bring the kit, he can host us, we are coming.
We'd definitely like to do that.
Lord Willie,
consider it done.
Brilliant. Thank you so much for your time, Lord Willie. Have a very, very good day. Thank you. So once again, thank you very much to Lord Simon Woolley for joining us there. I think he definitely brings a level of gravitas and relevance to the pod, especially at this time during a general election. What did you make, though, just generally of what he had to say? Now he's gone, you can be honest.
I'd really love to have. I know the reason why we had to get him, obviously, on I was calling it Zoom, but it wasn't. It's another publicised platform. But actually, I would love to have been in the room with him because, and obviously that offer has now been extended. I felt there was more that I wanted to dig out of it. I get it, what he said. Listen, I'll be open and honest to everybody as I was there. I'm not a voter. I don't believe that there is any party that represents who I am. And I don't think that we have enough influence to change the strategy of a party that may lead this country. All of them, as far as I'm concerned, if your standard base is that you lie to the nation, I can't get on that. Mm-hmm. And I get what he's saying. How your vote doubles the opinion. Yeah, great stuff. I get it. But when your start point is that you don't tell the truth, right? And you influence because actually, you need the votes because you're going to say you're going to do better in national health. You're going to say you're going to do better with schools. They're hiding about taxes at the moment. No one's coming clear, whether it's the Labour Party or Conservatives, about the impact on what they're going to do around taxes. Why am I adding my vote to that? And I suppose I wanted to challenge him a little bit more, which is very hard when it's virtual, about that conversation, because why am I lending a vote to a party who then are going to change their whole strategy because they finally got into power? I say it, and I always say it, they're all much of a muchness to me, and there's not someone out there that represents me as a human being or me and my family or me as a race of people. I don't think anyway.
I think for me, it's, and maybe this is because the bar has been dropped so low when it comes to politics in this country and politicians in this country. I look at this through the prism of what is the win for the next government that is going to impact me and my and people around me. So what I mean by that is, and this is a very, very low base way of approaching this, is of all the important things, because we often hear this phrase, nothing in this country works, of all the important things in this country that need to be fixed, if by the end of the next parliament, fast forward 5 years, if there was only one thing that you could say, all right, that's still rubbish, that doesn't work, that's still a problem, that's crap, but at least that has improved on this government, what would be your one thing? And I asked at work this question, and most people I think said most people at my work said housing.
Yeah.
They said if Keir Starmer, presuming it's going to be him as the Prime Minister, if there's one win, housing was a big one. NHS I think was second. I think education and economy was popular. Policing was in that mix as well. What's the one win that you can say 5 years on, at least that is better? And that's a very low-brow way of looking at it, because really we should expect. No, I'm totally with you, Troy. They should all be better.
Yeah.
We should be expecting them all to improve.
If we can see slight improvement in many areas, and then one thing supersedes the others,
it's a small win.
It's a small win.
But you're right. The question is problematic.
I don't think any of the parties are concerned too much about everything that you've just mentioned there. Mm-hmm. And actually, I think the base might get slightly higher, but it's not going to be life-changing. No. I don't think for any of us. I have a group of friends who, when I expose that I don't vote, and they're close friends from school, you don't vote. And I felt at that time so small. But not one of them gave me a popular reason
Why you should.
why I should. And I think for me, that is the argument. Give me a reason. And look, he gave a number. And I respect that, of course. But I just think that in society at the moment, there's so many things wrong. You mentioned housing, but you didn't say, I don't know why, as one of the richest countries in the world, that we have people still living in our streets. I don't know why. And I don't know why they are looked at as if they're like a piece of meat most of the time. How can we not house everybody, wherever it may be? So how have we still got people on our street? Alongside, how is our educational system? As far as I'm concerned, remember I used to work in the educational system, as poor as what it is.
Hungry kids. Why have we still
got, right? I don't get it. I honestly don't get it. But listen, I'm sure I'm going to get shot down, and I will get shot down, and I'll be called some names.
That's your opinion. That's your view. Lord Willie put forward the case why it was important for us to vote. I think most people will agree. So some won't. I think I'm just looking now at the next government. What's going to change, because I don't think this country has ever been, and elders will tell me I could be wrong, I don't think this country's ever been in a situation where not most things are wrong or most things don't work. For people like me, nothing works. Nothing is working. So anyway, let's fast forward
It's
to the
good to have him on though. It's really
it's great to have him on, and I want to get him back on. After the election it finishes, so we can talk then. Anyway, listen, that's us for this week. Don't forget, please subscribe to us here on YouTube if you're watching us on YouTube. Also, we are on your favorite podcast platform. Please, right now, do it. Share. Just whack this episode into your WhatsApp group with the family or your cousins. I know everyone's got like a little cousins WhatsApp group or a siblings. Whack it in there right now. We're on Twitter, we're on Instagram, we're on TikTok as well. Give us a follow and a like there too. We'll see you next week. Peace.